worlds were hitting first base. Marty Lurie with friends, home run. You know the ways and the trends of stories all with the match of the block. It's Marty and friends. Marty and friends.
All right, fabulous. Thank you, Ruby, for that wonderful introduction. And welcome to Marty Lurie and Friends and the great Larry Krueger. We're going to join together today to do this post game along with Eric down there in the bottom. Eric, nice to see you today. And
how's it going, old guys?
I'll tell you, this was a tough game today. This was a tough game for the Giants bullpen today, which has been terrific. But they used the whole bullpen today. And, you know, something that made me realize it's June. You can't burn these guys out. You got to take it easy with them. And they held on. The Marlins, I think, had 10 at-bats with runners in scoring position in innings 6, 7, and 8. And the Giants skated and got past it and won the game 4-2. Larry, what do you think of the game today?
Well, I mean, it was good to see the Giants get 4 runs. You know, that's seemingly, you know, it seems like just a mediocre amount of offense, but that 4-run, plateau is difficult for them to reach. I really thought when I saw the matchup that this was going to be a 1-0, 2-1 kind of a game because Birdsong's dealing and Weathers is awesome. I think Weathers is, in fact, you know, the Giants don't need pitching, but teams that do probably had scouts there today looking at Ryan Weathers. I would imagine the Marlins are going to move him at some point. He's 96 miles an hour. He's throwing really well. So, yeah, I was expecting a low-scoring game, and I was glad to see, you know, Ramos and Matos, lead the way offensively. You know, I'm a believer that Matos should be farmed out, but just not because of anything he hasn't done, just because it's just like they don't seem too eager to play him, and he's too young of a player to just sit on the bench. And, I'm a huge Matos fan. I really believe if they would cultivate his skills a little bit and, you know, prioritize getting him going, I think there could be a lot there. But, it was a good win. Good win. Anytime you can win while you're resting Jung-Hoo Lee, who's swinging the bat well, that's a great win. I was also really happy to see Casey Schmidt get in there at first base. He got a hit and a walk, so it was good to see. Good offensive game, and I thought the Giants were going to lose. I really did. I was nervous with Rogers out there and the bags loaded, but Rogers got out of it. Miller did his job. Doval did his job, and the Giants get the win.
Yeah, but looking at Matos, that was the first thing that hit me today, the fact that he was in the lineup, because tomorrow there probably will be a move, and Encarnacion is going to be in San Francisco tomorrow. And the question is, how do you get him on the roster and who goes? And for me, it was going to be Matos. And then again, I watched Ramos today run wild on the bases, and they used the speed. Fitzgerald tried to lay a bunt down to get on. And then you got Matos, he steals a bag, gets a hit, and hits a 3-run homer today. Mm-hmm. So I'll ask you, Larry, does it save his job? And do you keep Matos in right field and maybe do something with Christian Koss and just have Schmidt as that extra infielder if there's an emergency?
You're leaving, and of course you're leaving off the one that is the other option, which is farm or DL Lamont Wade.
Yeah, I mean, that's not going to happen.
Why?
Yeah, they're not going
to. Why? What has this guy ever done? I need to know. It's like, there's the old saying that there's a backstory. It's like if you're watching this, you wouldn't understand this unless there's some kind of backstory that we're not privy to. So
they got no bench. And you can use him off the bench. You need a left-handed hitter off the bench. And all right, so
but he's just ice cold. I mean, anything you do is temporary, right? I would still farm out Ramos or Matos because you need him to get at bats. So yeah, he got a great day today, and if that could be the difference, but he needs to play every day, and he's not going to play every day here. Yaz is your right fielder. Jung Hoo's your center fielder, and Ramos is in left. And you're trying to DH Flores a lot, so there's no spot for Matos right now. So I think if you send him out, you've got a chance to call him up in 3-4 weeks and have a player that can really help you if you make a move and create some room for him. But I don't think I would, unless you're gonna sit there and say, okay, look, we're gonna play this guy, we're gonna play him every day. But then who's sitting down? You're gonna tell Yaz you're gonna sit down? Hey,
He's
sitting.
not going to play every day. Now, that's not going to happen. But you can use him. You need extra guys, and he is a young kid with some speed, and he has a little bit of power. But this cost thing is the one that gets me. I mean, they've kind of buried him a little bit. Fitzgerald is playing second. What do you need? Do you really need Koss on this team? What does he give you? And this way, you could keep Matos and use him in a platoon with Yastrzemski. I don't like Encarnacion going to right field. I've seen it in spring training. I think, come on, you're going to put Encarnacion in right field in San Francisco in Triples Alley? You crazy? I mean, really? So you need a platoon for Yastrzemski. The guy has been in an awful slump. You need a right-handed hitter as an outfielder, and I think Matos probably stays for that reason. I would send Koss out. And the other thing is, and look, Larry, you love Josh Harrison. I hate to break the news to you, but
He retired today.
Yes, he retired finally yesterday.
Yeah,
that finally happened. But you look at Schmidt, and I know you've been all over Schmidt, and
I'm a huge Schmidt fan. I'm a believer in Schmidt.
What has Schmidt done? Seriously, to warrant that kind of play, Schmidt? Seriously.
Well, first of all,
what has he done?
Everybody else, I mean, so we're gonna stumble over ourselves 19 times to get Lamont Wade, who's not good, going, but this guy who's actually got talent and a line drive stroke, we're not going to do anything to get him going. We can't. He's just like what? He's the redheaded stepchild who never gets an opportunity here. I mean, what's going on? I mean, do we love Wade and hate Schmidt? I mean, what's going on here? I mean, it's one guy's never really done anything, and the other guy's done it in the minor leagues and is a prospect. One guy's old, one guy's young. One guy's already shown you what he is. The other guy's 26.
I understand. All right,
never gotten an opportunity.
How do you handle first base?
I'd play Schmidt there. I mean, first of all, I also think Schmidt's a really good defensive player at third. He's probably going to be a better player at first than Wade or Flores or anybody else for that matter. I mean, the Encarnacion thing is a weird thing because it's like, what is Encarnacion? He's I don't even know how good he is. It's funny. I saw him a little precursor to the injury in spring training. He tried that ridiculous diving move in left field twice early in spring training and almost looked like he almost had a catastrophic injury. And then, of course, did suffer a serious injury on the same play later in spring training. So he's a DH. That's what he is. He's a DH. He's a DH part-time left fielder strictly. If you're playing him in right, you're taking your chances. I probably agree with you, Marty. I'd probably farm out Koss, but they do. Buster seems to be a big fan of Koss. They like the fact that Koss is a good defender at multiple spots. But yeah, I mean, they're not. He can't possibly be out of options. Even if he was, nobody's going to pick him up. So, I mean, you could do what you want with Koss.
All right. Well, Encarnacion's coming here. They need the bat in the lineup desperately.
Yeah, badly.
And my feeling is they're probably going to play him tomorrow or the next day against the Padres. Even against right-handed pitching, they're going to play him. And Wade is going to go to the bench and be that kind of player for a couple of weeks and see what Encarnacion can do. I just can't see any way out of it. I agree with you on Wade. I mean, Wade's hitting 165. The swing isn't there. Everything is different. changed his swing over the winter. Now he's back to his regular swing. He can't catch up to the ball at all. But defensively, you may need him late in the game. What if you take Encarnacion out late in the game if he's playing first and you have a righty on the mound? You could use Wade late in the game too. Wade has some value. There's something there. So
you can't roster 5 guys hitting under 200. Sorry. Okay.
right.
That's like kind of like the old baseball rule. You can't have 5 guys hitting under 200. Casey Schmidt on the roster hitting under 200. Bailey, everyday guy, hitting under 200. Lamont Wade, everyday guy hitting 167. Matos hitting 147. I mean, you can't have that many guys far underneath. Otherwise, it's just you're giving away too many outs in your lineup.
Luckily, it's June, and there's still a game out of the wild card, and you got 103 games to go, so there's plenty of time. With
I
pitching.
mean they're there. I mean, they're right there. I mean, it's not if they were 7 or 8 games under 500, maybe there would be more urgency to these decisions. But if I were them, I would try to stay ahead of this thing because once you lose momentum, it's hard to regain it.
Well, look, they've got San Diego for 4. As I said on my show this morning, San Diego for 4. You're going to get that Schwellen back. You may get Sale for Atlanta. You got to go to Colorado. At some point, Colorado's going to win some games. And if you got to go there, that's never simple. Then you got to go to the Dodgers. Then you get the Cleveland at home. You get Crochet with Boston. And you get the Marlins again. And then you got to go to the White Sox, who at home can do some damage. And you got to go to Arizona. So this is a big month. This is a big month for them. So let's talk pitching for a minute. Tomorrow, Encarnacion's coming. I don't think Wade will get DFA'd. I think Koss is the one for me that may be in trouble. So, all right, believe that. What do you think of Birdsong today?
I mean, I love him. I mean, he's a big kid who I think either he's impervious to pressure or he's so young he doesn't feel it yet. You know what I mean? But he seems like he's got today he got great command, put the ball where he wanted to put it. Struck out 5, didn't walk anybody. I mean, guy looked pretty good. Worked into the 6th. Threw strikes, moved through all of his pitches. I really like him. Really like him a lot. I think he's an interesting pitcher. He's a big guy. He's got good stuff. As far as how he got guys out, he got 10 guys on called strikes. 12. He got 10 swinging strikes, 12 or 10 called strikes, 12 swinging strikes. Only 19 or what was it? Let's see. Is it 19 foul balls? 19 foul balls, is that right? And 16 in-play strikes. So that's a lot of foul balls.
Like a lot. But
yeah, I like him. I mean, 2.37 ERA. I mean, big kid. I love the fact that he's in the rotation.
So what do you do now? The big guy is coming back.
Right.
It may take him another 2 weeks, but he's coming back, and that's Verlander.
Yeah.
And I say, if you knew then what you know now about Birdsong, Harrison, Roop, Wisenhunt, would you even get involved with Verlander?
I mean, when they got Verlander, I thought to myself, okay, this is not bad as far as he'll show the way, but he's probably going to be the Giants might be able to come up with a young arm or two that are going to be better than Verlander. And sure enough, here we are, and you've got Birdsong and Roop, and they've moved Hicks to the pen. But yeah, I mean, is Verlander one of your best 5 starters? I think he probably is. I thought he pitched in some tough luck, to be honest.
Taking out of the rotation then.
Yeah, I mean, not Birdsong, not Birdsong. And I like what I've seen in the last few starts from Roop.
Right.
So, and obviously you're not pulling Webb out. So, who you're not pulling Robbie Ray out. So Jordan Hicks is in the pen already.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was kind of hoping that Verlander would get off to a hot start and that they would have an asset that other teams wanted. And right as they were getting ready to commit to the Harrisons and the Bird Songs and the Wisenhunts, that somebody would give you a decent something for Verlander because they feel like he can help them. But he hasn't necessarily pitched it well enough to be that kind of an asset.
Well, I think your alarm clock is going off a little early. I knew you'd be on it. We talked about it this morning. Kerry Crowley brought it up, and that is trade Verlander once he's back in pitching and if you get a bench piece, look, Houston needs pitching. There are teams Cleveland may need a pitcher. The Yankees could use him, in their starting rotation. He probably has some limited value, but just like Dan is going nuts talking about play Schmidt, play Matos, play the young kids. You'll never know what you got. You never know. Dan wakes up in the morning and says that to his parakeet. He says it so they can repeat it to him. If you can get rid of Verlander right now and get something back for him, I'd feel comfortable going with this pitching staff. I think they should explore it. Now, would anyone take him because he's hurt? No. If he's going to need a couple of starts, and if that's the case, I guess Harrison goes back to the bullpen. I guess.
Well, the Giants are in this kind of weird spot. I mean, and it's where they are they a playoff team? Are they not? Are they trying to get to win this year? Are they trying to win next year? What are they building for?
Right back. I gotta do a quick thing with Heather here.
Sure.
I'll be right back. Keep talking.
No problem. But I just think that the Giants situation is, it's like it's complicated because it's like they've got they're in it enough this year to go for it. But then they also, you look at these pitchers and you're like, well, wait a second. All these guys are about the future. And then you look at teams like the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees right now are desperate for a third baseman. And you've got Casey Schmidt sitting there who you could trade, or you could trade Chapman to the Yankees and put Casey Schmidt on third. So it's just like the Giants have options of things they want to do and how they see things. Do they want to go with guys that are about this year and try desperately to get into the playoffs this year? Are they trying to, build up, the future of Giants baseball and, so they could be good next year? I don't know. I mean, it's like you got to go around the diamond and say, is this guy part of the solution or not? Like, is Bailey your catcher? Or is Bailey such a crappy hitter that he's not your catcher? Is Chapman your third baseman, or is Chapman a huge disappointment and you should try to get off of Chapman and get down the road? It's like, should they go for it this year? Should they try to find the guy like Verlander? If you're trying to go for it this year, you probably want to keep a Verlander. But if you're trying to kind of set yourself up for 2026, then maybe you want to invest in Wisenhunt and move Verlander. So I don't know. They've got some tough decisions on their hands right now.
All right, Eric, what did I miss?
No, Larry's just talking about the direction that the club wants to go, especially at the trade deadline. And I like what you're saying.
You trade Chapman, is that what I heard?
Yeah, I heard Chapman.
What I'm saying is that okay? So the Giants aren't like, they're not like the best team in baseball or anything. It's not like, oh my God, they absolutely have to go for it this year. They haven't been in the playoffs in quite a while. And you look at their situation and it's like, you almost got to go reassess across the diamond. Who's here? Who's part of the solution long-term? I mean, I would think Bailey is their long-term catcher, but Bailey can't hit at all. And so Bailey might not be their long-term catcher. And then is the Yankees badly need a third baseman. You have two. You have Casey Schmidt, who's a young player who hasn't got much of a shot, who's a hell of a fielder. And then you got Chapman, who you've paid a lot of money to, but is he? I mean, Chapman's been very disappointing in my mind. I'm very disappointed with what I've seen from Chapman. He's anytime there's runners on base, it's like he's got some kind of yips. I mean, he cannot drive in runs.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, who's here long term? Is Verlander? Is it all about this year? If it's all about this year, keep the Floreses and the Yazes and the Verlanders. But if it's all about next year, then trade the Yazes and the Verlanders and the Chapmans and the.
You got the pitching to do some damage if you can get in. If you
Mm-hmm.
or you may get wiped up, because you can't score. You just make it, but you got enough to take you through the season and possibly get in on the pitching side. Look,
but what's the better plan, though? Is the better plan to stay with Verlander and Robbie Ray and these? Robbie Ray's 33. Robbie Ray is having an amazing year. Okay, if you're sticking with your plan, shouldn't you trade Robbie Ray for something really, really great in July and use him as the trade asset? Instead I hear people going, well, you got one more year and then you need to extend Robbie Ray. Whoa. What is the plan here? I thought, isn't the plan to go with the Wisenhunts and the Bird Songs and the Harrisons and the Young Arms, and these other guys are just there to, help you get through it and then potentially be trade assets? This is where the Giants, I think, are really kind of a organization that needs to have a leader with some conviction, which they haven't had since Sabian was here. And I don't know that Buster is that. But you got to have a leader with some conviction who says, you know what? Yeah, we're sort of in it, but we're crappy. We're not good. We can't hit at all. So let's do this. Let's trade Robbie Ray, because Robbie Ray will bring us Samuel Basallo. And now we've got a catcher who can hit. Now we don't have to play our anemic hitting catcher. Now, you know what I'm saying? It's like all my advice to Buster would be keep building. Don't do what Farhan did. Farhan could have traded Rodon, didn't. Could have traded Bumgarner, didn't. Could have traded Gosman, didn't. And then wound up with didn't have a very good enough team and got fired.
Yeah, but those are free agent guys leaving, and you didn't want to. You thought maybe you had a shot to still get something done. I would have moved them anyway. I would have moved them anyway because we knew they weren't going to be re-signed. That was the problem. They were gone.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the problem. But for someone where this team is right now in the scope of Major League Baseball, in this National League, which is a better league than the American League, I'll tell you that, I think the Giants still have that chance. But you can't go with this offense the way it goes. Ultimately, it's going to eat you up. And I've said it a million times. It depends what you do in the division. And we're going to get a good look at it now with the Dodgers and Colorado and San Diego and Arizona again over the next month. They've got to win in the division. And when you hit like this, I don't care how well you pitch, you're going to have trouble being better than 500 in the division, because this division hits. Mm-hmm. Arizona hits, the Dodgers hit, Colorado's going to hit at home. We know that. And San Diego is a decent, we've seen them already. They can play. So for me, I give it another month and before this kind of stuff. But the Verlander thing is now. That's going to be happening in a couple of weeks. And I think that's something they should seriously look at. And I think that's something to do.
One other thing, though, that has to be mentioned here. Today is June 1st. The Giants had not scored 5 in a game since they beat the A's on Friday, May 16th, 9-1. Yeah. 5. The Giants have not scored 5 in any game, win or loss, since in 2 weeks. so it's, they've got to find a way to find some more offense, and then
not there.
It's not there.
It's not there. It's not there. And to dream about it, Ramos is the only guy who can really do damage. He's the only guy who goes up to the plate and he's ready to just kill the ball. And that's about it. Everyone else is just playing ping pong. Bailey, Yastrzemski, Wade, Fitzgerald. Adames. The other question I have is let's leave Verlander aside because that they will have to cross that bridge at some point. And if he's okay, I absolutely move him. Absolutely, there's no question. The bigger question now is what happens to Hicks? What do you do with him? Where does Hicks go in this thing? Because he can't throw it all right now. You can't move him. I think you get stuck with him. And then the other question is, if you had it to do over again, is Adames a disappointment to you?
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, obviously he's a disappointment. But it's early. I mean, and I don't want to evaluate this that early.
For him, it's early.
I mean, he's hitting 208. Okay, it's really bad.
Well, you watch the at-bats, though. The at-bats are pathetic.
Yeah. Not only that, it's like the guy clearly is clutching in any kind of pressure situation. He's totally worthless. Yeah. I mean, I don't know I don't have his splits in front of me. Well, I could check them, but they're bad. I mean, I can.
Isn't that what he's been known for? And when he was in Milwaukee, hey, this guy's clutch. He's got 3 home. Yeah, 3-run home runs.
And he made a career out of it. But I've seen his at-bats. I've seen Wade's at-bats. I've watched everyone's at-bats. And, boy, his at-bats are not great. I'm hoping that he'll pull it together as the summer goes on and they can get something out of him. But, boy, 6 or 7 years of this, that's a tough one. They needed him. He was, what was on the market. They needed him. But that's a tough one. That's a tough one. But they win. They win 4-2. Birdsong pitched great. The bullpen, Miller and Duvall and Walker, they get the job done. Rogers, somehow they all get the job done. They do. They do a nice job. They do.
Well, they got a bunch of different looks in their pen. They got a bunch of different looks, so that's good. But, I mean, I'm just looking at the splits now for Adames. He's only hitting 136 against left-handed pitching. That's not very good. Yeah, I mean, it's just, he's a guy that I think his home run totals may have been somewhat inflated. I've already seen him get about 8 different balls hit to the wall, and it makes me wonder how many home runs he's actually going to hit this year because it's like, does he have kind of like warning track type power in some of the bigger yards? Did he benefit from Miller Park? That has to be asked. But, I mean, it's early. I think he'll come around a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, it's like we all want to be super positive about Buster. But Verlander and Adames are his big offseason moves. He hasn't made a trade yet. And I just think that, we're in kind of unknown territory. With the Giants. I mean, they're in a pickle here because it's like they want desperately to be in this race all year, and yet they don't hit enough to really be a playoff team. And you would think it would take a significant trade to get them to get the kind of offensive piece that would help them become a playoff team. So I'm not sure what the plan is really, but I would stick with the game plan of go with the youth, stay with the youth, and anybody with age or money on their contracts, be willing to move them to improve.
Yeah, well, that'll be July. We'll see where they are in July, and it's the mosaic. Come on, you know that.
Yeah, we're 4 weeks away from it.
Well, we're 8 weeks away from it, by the trade deadline, to make those.
July, yep.
Yeah. But look, Matos hit a 3-run homer. The bullpen was on thin ice every inning. The Marlins are a team that they don't hit. Let's face it, they got about 10 or 11 hits in 3 games. Giants are lucky to get out of there taking 2 or 3. They're lucky to get out of there taking 2 or 3.
You think? Now the Giants scored how many runs in the series? The Giants only scored 6 total runs in 3 games, and they took 2 out of 3. I mean, that's
gone
amazing.
Over 4 runs in 13, 14, 15
14 games. Yeah. This is the 14th game.
Yeah, 4 runs. So, they get it done. The Marlin defense, the inner defense is not good. Their outfield defense is terrific. Their inner defense wasn't good. So they're lucky to get out of there. Now, the Padres are struggling right now. The Pirates knocked them around. Everyone's beaten them up lately. They come in for 4, and then Atlanta for 3. So this is going to be a good week of baseball. Good week. It's a good story.
Yeah, and they finished May, I think 13-14. They had the league best ERA, like a 2.6 ERA. But of course, the offense, we've already talked about this, is in the dumps. So what is this team? Even though, is their record indicative of who they are? Because they're 33-26. They started off the season like 8-1, but ever since then they're 500. So is this team 500, or are they better than 500? And again, we're already in June now. So I think we're starting to see a little bit of the writing on the wall, maybe, huh?
Yeah. They're right now, they are a 500 team. And the only reason they are is because they pitch.
That's it.
Yeah. It's a weird situation. I mean, they have a good enough starter to win every day. Their pen is a nice assortment of different looks and pretty nasty looks. Jordan Hicks can't throw a strike right now, but outside of that, I mean, Randy Rodriguez, Eric Miller, Rogers, Walker, Doval. I mean, and here they got all. This is going to be riveting because Buster's got all kinds of options here. I mean, if he wanted to trade Doval, there's, I'm sure, a great market for Doval right now. You could trade Doval and go with rotation, the bullpen that you have outside of Doval. He would definitely fetch something. The Giants have several young arms in their system that would fetch something if they decided to move off of those guys. They do need a significant bat, but it's a weird situation because look at their infield. It's like they had no answer at first. The kid is probably over a year away. The second base thing is a question mark. Shortstop, even though you paid tons, is kind of a question mark. And third, you're not getting what you want out of third. So, and then Bailey's not hitting. So it's like you're not getting, anything out of your infield compared to what you were hoping to get.
Yeah, it's true. I'm a little bit more optimistic on Chapman. I still think he's a streaky hitter. When it's all said and done, he'll hit 25. He'll drive in 80 and play great defense. So I'm not worried about him. Adames, I'm hoping, will pull it together over the summer. I'm taking everyone's word for it that they still like him. Fitzgerald at second base is questionable for me. I'd love to see them get a Freddie Sanchez type or Sanoho, anyone who can hit the ball the other way and, just be a little bit more of a complete player. Fitzgerald is a strikeout, home run, you hope, but he hasn't hit with power. And the first base thing is a major mess that we will see some clarity this week on the first base situation. I'll be interested to see who goes tomorrow. See if it's Matos, Koss, Schmidt, and see what they do tomorrow.
It really should be Wade. I mean, come on. I mean, this is a guy who's been in the major league since 2019.
Assets, Larry, you know that.
But he's not an asset. He's not an asset. He's a liability at this point. He's never hit 20 homers. He's never driven in 60 runs.
Right.
His on-base percentage is .271. He's hitting 167 with no power. He doesn't play catcher. He doesn't play shortstop. When you play first base, you have to hit. You got to hit. He's not hitting. So, I mean, DL him. I mean, put him on the injured list. Let him figure it out for 3 weeks. I mean, if you think Lamont Wade's too valuable to cut, I totally disagree. But then DL him because right now he is killing you.
Yeah, I think you need him off the bench. I do. I wouldn't just get rid of him. They have no.
You need him off the bench.
Yeah, they need him off the bench as a left-handed hitter.
Okay.
Yeah. They got nobody. They're bunting in the 8th inning with second and third and one out.
He is doing well as a pinch hitter. You're right. He's hitting .429 as a pinch hitter.
Yeah, he's a decent. Gives you a decent at bat as a pinch hitter. He comes off. he won't chase and blah, 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 and all that stuff. So we put some pressure on the pitcher. All right, this is good. This is good. We could go. I love this. You know that. We could go on forever with this stuff. The Hicks thing was the last thing I know. I just touched on it a couple of times. But boy, that was not good today with Hicks. That was not good. Not good.
And I thought, get him out of being a starter. He's going to succeed in the bullpen. And now you put him in the bullpen and he's not even succeeding in the bullpen.
He's messed up.
I think it's between the ears. Yeah.
Yeah. He's out of sync. He can't throw strikes.
20 pitches, 6 strikes.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not good.
Not good. And they put him in a minor leverage situation. Minor. They're winning 4-0 at that point. They put him in. All right, give us a 7th inning so we don't have to burn Rodriguez out or anybody else. And they put him in there, and look what happened.
There's another guy that was rumored that the Yankees wanted him early in the year when they were having rotation issues, but he might be trade bait too. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, this team, as we get further along, is absolutely dying for a very impactful midseason significant trade, and they've got pieces to do it. They absolutely do. They got young pieces. They got veteran pieces. They got pieces that they don't necessarily want but have some value. I mean, they have pieces. It's just a matter of who you're going to target and how good of a deal can you make.
All right. How's everything else going? Everything else all right?
Things are good. Yeah, things are good. I had a little bit of a sty in my left eye, so my left eye's been a little red the last couple of days. So if some people in the chat are like, "Hey, what happened to your eye?" I'm like, "Well, I got some kind of like an ulcer in my eye, but I'm taking some eye drops for it." But yeah, feeling good. Niners just made a nice trade, getting a defensive end. Watching a little bit of the NBA and NHL playoffs, enjoying the Giants when they score, and man,
this
loving
kid
it.
for Oklahoma City, this SGA guy, and I don't know much about basketball. Yeah. Man, this is a player.
Oh, I know. He's great. MVP of the league, and they're going to win it all. OKC is going to beat Indiana in the finals.
They should. They should. Yeah,
that's the kid that wore a Giants hat, too, at the post-game presser, too, right? If I'm not mistaken.
All right.
So.
Halliburton. Are you talking about Halliburton? Or
no, I think it was SGA. I think he wore a
SG. Really?
Yeah. I think I'm almost positive.
Well, Halliburton went to Iowa State, so he's a big Brock Purdy fan. So he's often wearing the Brock Purdy 13 jersey.
It's all good. All right. Well, if you like the show, subscribe. It's good. And Larry, I appreciate doing this with you on Sundays as we take a look. This next Sunday, if we do a show next Sunday, will be very telling. Really, after 3 with Atlanta and 4 with San Diego, we're going to have a very interesting discussion next week, don't you think?
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's the schedule gets real here this month, and it's going to get pretty challenging. And some of these teams can really score, and the Giants pitching is keeping them in it, but they're going to need some extra juice. I was thinking they were going to need a big time starter and a big time bat. Now I kind of think they could just use a bat, and I think the starter can. I'd be perfectly fine. I think Giants fans would be perfectly fine if the Giants said, "You know what? We'll call up Wisenhunt and roll with a youthful rotation." I mean, we saw the Braves in whatever year it was, 88, 89, 90, right in there, with John Smoltz and Tom Glavine, and these guys took their lumps. These guys lost 15 games. They got hammered. They took their lumps, but they learned. And then all of a sudden you looked up in 91, 92, and the Braves are, Avery, Glavine, Smoltz, and they're all coming of age. And it's like, that's where the Giants are right now. They're in the late 80s on this thing. They need to give some time to Wisenhunt and Birdsong and Harrison and get a great pitching coach, or if you have one, and coach those guys up, and that's your future. And then focus on that, and then just that's your anchor point, and then build off of that. Build around that.
To do right field, first base, and behind the plate offensively.
So that's where
everyone keep our fingers crossed. Adames does something. Second base, I can live with. But first base, right field has got to get straightened out. That's where those are big hitter positions, and that's where where Buster's got to do something to make it happen.
Somebody said to me, "What do I think of Ryan O'Hearn?" The other day, he's an interesting first baseman. He can hit a little bit.
Let's think new cousin Ryan O'Hearn. Dan's all over that one too.
Yeah, Ryan O'Hearn. I've liked him for a few years. He's a pretty good player. But I mean, yeah, they could definitely use. They could, I threw out Reese Hoskins, in the past, but I mean, they could definitely use another middle of the order type bat.
Yeah, if your best hitter is Ramos leading off, and he should be hitting third or fourth, driving in runs.
Correct.
Yeah,
they're leading them off because he can do some damage.
But they're not that. Here's the thing, though. They're not that far away. We've all seen this happen. I've seen Giants teams where they're struggling to score 4 runs. Oh, here comes Kenny Lofton, and now suddenly they're scoring 6 runs a game. So it really can be one bat that can kind of loosen up the log jam and make everybody relax.
Maybe that's Adames. Seriously.
Yeah.
Adames could be that guy. Give me one guy who can carry you a little bit, and that's what I'm looking for. So we'll see tomorrow when they bring Encarnacion up. They'll put him in. If he can run into a few. Look, he's a player from the Mexican League. Don't expect 40 home runs out of the guy, but at least maybe he can do a little bit of damage.
He's hitterish. He's one of those guys that he can hit. I mean, he can hit. Now, as far as you're right. It's like you're not 100% sure exactly where he's going to sit in this thing, but he looked pretty good offensively in March. And I think the book on him is he can hit.
Yeah. Yep. And with that, take a drink. That's the Marty Lurie drinking. He can hit. All right. Larry, I'll let you go. I appreciate you being on.
Absolutely. Have a great Sunday, Eric. Great to see you, my man. And
take care, Larry.
Go Giants.
Next Sunday
we'll do it again next week.
Yeah, good. All right. Thanks, Larry.
Yep. Take care.
All right. Be well.
All right. There was Larry.
All right. Let's take a break. Take a deep breath. Giants win 4-2. We've gone through all the big questions, and there's still very much in it. And tomorrow will be one of those days where there will be some action, at least on the team.
Yep.
And then we'll see where it goes. And then the Verlander thing is the next thing for me to see what happens, because I wouldn't take any of these kids out of the rotation. I just wouldn't.
That makes sense.
I wouldn't. And if he's healthy and comes back and gives you 6 innings, boy, I would. Cleveland, Boston, New York.
What about Detroit? Send him back to Detroit.
No, Detroit's getting some people back, but Detroit. I would not mess up this road. This rotation is too good right now. Yeah, I would not mess it up. All right, we'll take a break. We're going to be back. We've got a couple of good things for you. Art Shamsky is going to join us. Here's the book that he wrote. A very interesting guy, former big leaguer. And Sam Zeigner, who wrote a book about the forgotten Marlins. I'll hold that up. And I did the foreword for the book, as you can see there. But this is where I grew up with the Miami Marlins when I came from Brooklyn to Miami. That was the team that all of a sudden I discovered. And Sam wrote a book about it. So I'm glad to have him on. So let's take a break, and we'll come back and talk about this book. We'll see which one. Right after the break, but hang with us. Thank you. Okay.
Fans, great news. If you enjoy Original Joe's, there's a new Original Joe's coming to Walnut Creek, opening late May, early June. Let me tell you a little bit about it. It is going to be fabulous. 300 seats, 13,000 square feet, 3 outdoor patios with 90 outside seats, a full exhibition counter and cocktail lounge. That's the best. And the cocktail lounge will have a multitude of TVs to watch the Giants and the dreaded A's if you want to. It's the first opening of an Original Joe's in 70 years in a new market, and this is really going to be something. 9 years since opening in Westlake, so this is going to be fabulous. It will have a private dining room with accommodations up to 40 people, with its own private bar and patio. It fits Walnut Creek like a glove. This is going to be something else. I can't wait to do some events at the new Original Joe's in Walnut Creek, coming late May, early June. It's been a pleasure working with Rick Robin this year. Rick Robin, ROBBEN, NapaConstruction.com. Rick, the last time you were on with us, you told us about kitchen and bath remodeling, but there's a lot more going on up in your area.
Yes, there is. ADUs, auxiliary dwelling units, which are known as granny units. We can do your existing garage, attached garage, even building a new unit in the back. And so what we do is come out, bring our architect out there. Such a great thing. No sewer hookup fees, no water hookup fees. So that's what we do.
Rick, how does one start the process with you? How does one get in touch with you?
Oh, you call Tammy, 707-332-7575, 7 days a week.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com. Rick, the thing I like about this, no problem for me. You come out with the plans, the permits, everything is in-house, no fees, and you get a new unit that you can rent out and get money back on your investment right away. I like it, Rick.
Thanks, Marty. Love talking to you.
Rick Rob. Hey, it's Marty, and I'm here to tell you that it's time to discover the islands, and of course that means River Islands. They're celebrating 10 years of bringing the good life to Bay Area homebuyers. What's more, Del Webb, one of America's best-known builders for active adults in the 55 and over crowd, has just opened 3 neighborhoods at River Islands. They're building a huge community center on its own lake, all for buyers looking for a great lifestyle and a little less maintenance. I like that. Homes are priced from the 600,000s. Start your tour online at riverislands.com. Isn't it time for you to discover the islands? It sure is for me.
All right. Nice to have you back with us. The Giants win at 4-2 today over the Marlins. They take the series 2 of 3. They took 2 of 3 from Washington, and then they got swept by Detroit in the middle of it. So in that little 12-game pocket, I think they ended up something like 4-8 or something like that.
Yeah, they didn't do too well, did they?
No, I wanted 8-4, but this is a big week of baseball for the Giants. Nice stuff. Nice comments here.
Yeah, I see Steve. He's chiming in. Says, Marty, ever run into the same circles with the great Skip Bergman on Miami Beach?
Skip Bergman went to the baseball camp. Yeah, he was the Little League coach of Flamingo Park when I grew up. And he was at Beach High. He was the baseball coach there when I was there. And, of course, University of Miami and LSU. And Skip Bergman was fabulous. Great guy, still with us. And I see him every once in a while. He'll come out to the Giants to see some of his former players, and I'll chat with him. But, yeah, Steve, I appreciate that. I think Steve said he lived in Kendall, and that was I lived out in South Miami when I went to law school, and then before I came out to San Francisco. So I appreciate
There you go. He also chimed in, said, heard stories of old Marlins going to exhibition games in Miami Stadium, seeing Orioles.
Yeah.
During those glory years.
I went, I've got pictures, and it's part of the book that we'll talk about with Sam Zeigner, about going to Miami Stadium and seeing, I saw Satchel Paige pitch there, believe it or not. So it was pretty exciting to a kid from Brooklyn, from Ebbets Field, to go to Miami Stadium. So I like that. But is Art on? Do you have Art on there?
I don't see him down there. I see Sam is down there, but I do not see Art Chamsky right now.
Art, are you linked in to our?
No, I'm on the phone.
Okay, we need you to click on the link if you can that you were sent, and then we'll get you on the show.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect. All right. He'll be in here shortly. So yeah, hey, the wonders of technology, but we'll get him in here in a minute.
But this is nice because I'm glad to be able to do these book reports.
Oh yes.
As I did last year, I did a lot of them, and I'm glad to do it.
Yeah, last week, we were talking about the umpire, Luciano.
Right? Yeah,
Luciano, and then we also had who was it that we had on? It was I can't remember the name of the guest that we had on that came in and talked with us. Talking about the Whiz Kids.
Oh yeah. Dennis Snelling was on last week.
Yeah, that was nice. That was a great story, by the way.
Yeah, good book about them.
All right.
When you got Art there.
I see him. I think he's getting everything ready. It looks like he's ready to go. All right, here we go. Let's bring in Art.
All right. Art Chamsky.
I'm here.
All right. How are you? I got a
Um,
copy of your book here that's out. And for fans who don't remember Art, Art is a major league player. He definitely had some wonderful moments in the big leagues. He was part of the '69 Mets, the Reds before that, and has had an interesting life after baseball, being involved with baseball. And he's got this new book out, Art Shamsky, with Matthew Silverman, Mets Stories I Only Tell My Friends. I like the title because it goes back to Dwight Eisenhower. Tell me about the title.
Yes.
well, what's really interesting is that more books have been written about that '69 Met team than any sports team in history. I would venture to say that maybe the Yankees over the years have had more books about the organization, but no sports team has ever had more books written about it. Listen, this is my third book and about the '69 Mets, and for me, just trying to find something to write about was a little bit difficult. And then I heard about this book that former President Dwight Eisenhower wrote way back in the '50s, and the title caught my eye. Was just At Ease, the stories I tell my friends, and I realized that I could expand on some of the things that have been written about, but also talk about some things that haven't been written about, some things that I experienced on and off the field. This is not a book that's going to nail anybody, give some insight about somebody doing some bad things. It's really about my experiences that I had with my teammates and some of the things I did off the field. And really, if I can get some fans to smile and read when they read the book, then I've accomplished something. But it was really an interesting concept for me because I wanted to write about the Mets again because it was such a great team.
Boy, nice to have Art Shamsky with us. Art, for people who don't remember your baseball career, you had moments. Things happened in your baseball career. Talk about a few of them, the top moments for you.
Well, just playing on that '69 Met team was incredible for me. I played 13 years, and nobody really ever talks about the other 12. It's really about 1969. But, I came up with the Reds. It was the pre-Reds Reds machine back in those days. Frank Robinson, Vada Pinson, Pete Rose, Johnny Bench, Tony Perez. We didn't win any championships, but we had a great team. Always had competitive teams. And back then, as you know, Marty, the National League was really tough back then. I got a chance to play against and with some of the greatest players in the history of the game. And even on those West Coast trips when we'd go to L.A. before San Diego came into the league, L.A. and San Francisco got a chance to play against those great players in San Francisco and Mays and Stretch McCovey and Jim Ray Hart and Marichal and Perry and Mike McCormick. For me, to be part of that era was great. And I was lucky to have some good years. My problem was I just didn't stay healthy. I hit 21 home runs one year, and then the next year I hit 3. So I just got hurt, and you can't play the game in sports and you're not healthy. And so that was my problem. I had the one record where I hit 4 home runs in a row. And that was at Cincinnati. And ironically, that was over 2 games. And quite honestly, we lost both games to the Pirates. So there's nothing really to brag about, but it was really something I get people coming up to me and talking about. So for me to be part of that was very special.
Well, the book is terrific. It's Art Shamsky, Mets Stories I Only Tell My Friends. What I like about it is you can pick up any page and there's an anecdote, and it's only a couple of each one, maybe a page and a half, couple of pages. And those are the intimate stories that are in the book. And I used one this morning with Ron Wotus, and that was the Gil Hodges anecdote about hitting fungos, hitting ground balls to infielders. And because Woe is the infield coach for the Giants for many years. But the Gil Hodges story, tell that one, because that's in the book. That one got me.
Well, they wanted me to take some ground balls at first base in spring training. And, we had Eddie Kranepool, and then, of course, Don Clendenin came over. But Gil was a no-nonsense guy, and I really respect him as a manager. He was a terrific person. It was one of these guys that you kind of kept an arm's length with because he was a really tough, no nonsense. And he said, go pick up a glove. I didn't even have a first baseman's glove at the time. He said, go get a glove and I'll hit you some ground balls. And I thought he was going to, hit some soft ground balls with me, work on a little bit, throw to second base, and just stuff like that. And all of a sudden he's just started hitting his balls as hard as he could. and he just wanted to. I don't think he cared if he hurt you or not. He just wanted you to feel these hard fungos that he was hitting. And I am sure I had some bounce off my ankles and off my knees, and luckily nothing bounced off my face. But he was tough, and he got the most out of everybody. And that's the thing I really appreciate about playing for him. But he liked to hurt you down there when he was trying to hit fungos.
Did he hit a few at Jim Fregosi when he came over?
Oh, I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did. But he didn't spare anybody. I mean, he didn't do it that often because he had the coaches and players, some players hitting fungos. But this particular couple of times he did it with me, he didn't waste any time. He just started off with trying to hit it as hard as he could. And I'll never forget those days because I have bruises to remind me about it.
Give us some of the stories, some of the anecdotes that you like, so people get a flavor of what's in the book. You did coach in Israel. How about that?
Yeah, I one of the stories I finally talked about was when I found out I got traded. I started like my career with the Mets. With the Reds. I spent 8 years with them in the minors and the big leagues. And the first time you get traded, it's always a shock. But I had just had the first of a number of operations. I was back home in St. Louis and just finished the season, being hurt a lot. And I got a call one morning about 5 days after I got home from the hospital after this operation, and it was Bob Hausum, who was then the general manager of the Cincinnati Reds. When I answered the phone and he said, "Hi, it's Art, it's Bob Hausum," I said, "Oh, Mr. Hausum, thank you so much for checking in on me. I really appreciate you wanting to find out how I was feeling." And I said, "I just want you to know that I'm feeling really good and terrific." And I really didn't feel great, but I told him I felt great. And he said, "Well, I'm glad you feel good because we just traded you this morning." So again, the first time you get traded from a team is always a culture shock. You're leaving guys that you came up with, you rode buses with, you rode station wagons with, Pete Rose and I and Tommy Harper, Tommy Helms and Tony Perez. We were all friends, Johnny Bench. We all came up together. And so after I got over the shock, I said to him, "Well, by the way, where did I get traded?" He said, "Well, we traded you to New York." And I said, "Oh my God, Yankee Stadium. I can break a bat and hit one out of right field there. It's only 300 feet down the line." Yogi Berra, I was in St. Louis. I knew he was from St. Louis. I had this connection, this whole thing. I got a little bit excited. I said, "Well, who from the Yankees is going to give me a call?" And he said, no, it's not the Yankees. It's the other team in New York." And I said, "Oh my God, the other team. They're losing 100 games every year." I wasn't crazy about New York. I said, "Oh my God, I can't believe it's the Mets and this and that." And finally, he said to me, I said to him, who from the Mets is going to call me? He said, "Well, Bing Devine, the general manager of the Mets, is going to call you." Now, here's the twist of this whole story. I knew Bing Devine as a kid growing up in St. Louis because they used to catch me sneaking into these tryout camps, and I was always too young, and he'd come over and he'd say, "You're too young, come back in a year or so." So I knew him, and I'd played against the Cardinals for a while in the big leagues, and he had been the general manager, but then left to come over to the Mets. And so when he called, and he made me feel a lot better. He said, we're a young up and coming team. And I said to myself, up and coming team, is that the same team I'm thinking he's talking about in New York that's losing 100 games every year? And so I had to get over that shock. And he said, "Yeah, we're going to be a good team. We need some left-hand hitting, et cetera, et cetera." And he made me feel a lot better and hung up the phone. And so I didn't feel it was bad. But 2 days later, I pick up a paper and read where he left the Mets to come back to the Cardinals. I was his last trade after telling me how great it would be in New York and this and that. And that's really one of the stories in there about how this all came about. But as it turned out, it happened to be the best thing that ever happened to my baseball career. 2 years later, we won the World Series. My life changed, and so many things good have happened to me over the years. So that's just one of the anecdotes and, things like that. I just want people to kind of understand that you have a life. You're just not a baseball player. There's things that go on, there ups and downs and good times and not so good times. And so that's really what the book is about.
All right, there's a question from one of our listeners. What's the single most important thing you learned while playing baseball about people in life?
Well, I realized a long time ago that baseball is the greatest game in the world. It teaches you humility. It teaches you how to deal with failure. whether the game is you're gonna fail 7 out of 10 times and be a star. And I tell kids when I do these clinics that baseball teaches you all these wonderful things. These guys these young players you play with now are going to be friends for you the rest of your life. And so for me, being part of the game and being able to play against those great players that I got a chance to play against, I wouldn't trade that for all the money in the world. I get that question all the time. Don't you wish you were playing now? And of course, my first reaction is yes. I wish I was playing now. It's a completely different world. But just stop and think about this. I had this wonderful World Series ring that only a few people have on this team that's still talked about 56 years later, I believe. And so, how special is that? But I also got a chance to play against the greatest players in the world at the time, as you know, Marty. How do you not talk about playing against Mays and Aaron and Clemente and all those great players who played in the National League back then? I mean, the list goes on and on. Stargell, Billy Williams, Fergie Jenkins, Koufax, Drysdale, Marichal, Perry. I mean, Tom Seaver, who I played with and against. The list goes on and on. So for me, the question of what can I talk about in terms of baseball and what it meant to me, it's meant my whole life, and it's led me to be able to have wonderful conversations with great sports people like yourself. And so I've got no regrets. So yes, would I like to be playing now? Of course. But the reality of it is I've had a good life regarding baseball.
You know, all these anecdotes are in the book about the people that Art's talking about. There's one that I really had fun with. The time you lent your car to Johnny Bench. How about that?
Yeah, he had an accident in the car. Yeah, he took out. I was married at the time, and he took out my sister-in-law and had an accident. And every time I went up to hit when I was playing against him, I would say something to him. I said, "Are you ever going to pay me back for the money it cost me to fix the car when you wrecked it?" I used to kid him all the time when I went up to hit. You know, well, not every at bat, but a lot of times we would joke about it. But it's another story that I never really talked about before. And I think, again, if you can get people to smile at some of the things, the ups and downs that you had, the good, the bad, and whatever it might be, then you've accomplished something. I've always felt, Marty, that if, in my life and all of us who are out in the public, if we could somehow make people feel better about their lives, and we've accomplished something in our lives. And I've always had that kind of feeling about it. And so, again, if I can get people to smile and understand that maybe they didn't know something about the 69 Mets, that they thought they knew everything, and maybe they find out that they didn't know this and that, then I've accomplished something.
All right. What's your opinion on Pete Rose now being eligible for the Hall of Fame?
I think it's way too late. You know, I think it's anticlimactic. I don't know if he'll ever get in because of the different kinds of ways that players get in nowadays. You know, what's interesting about Pete, we were best of friends. I was at his first wedding. We played 2 years in the minor leagues. And the first year we played was 1960. I was in Geneva, New York, in a little small town, upstate New York, the New York Penn League. And Pete, myself, and Tony Perez were all on the same team. And Pete joined us in June. And to be perfectly honest, he really wasn't a good player. He couldn't do anything except run hard to first base, and couldn't field. Wasn't really a good hitter. Didn't have a good arm. And we were so bad, we got the manager fired in Class D, 1960, the New York Penn League. They kept him in Class D. The next year, he went to Tampa. He played for Johnny Vandermeer, who we all know was the great pitcher who pitched 2 no-hitters back-to-back. And they sent me to Topeka, Kansas, in Class B, and Tony stayed up in Geneva. The next year, we were all together in Macon, Georgia, believe it or not, and Pete had completely transformed himself into being a really good player. I think he led the league in hitting, and we all kind of had some good years. And then they took him to spring training in 1963 as a non-roster player. He beat out Don Blasingame at second base to make the Reds, and Rookie of the Year, and the rest is history. You know, what's interesting about Pete Rose and the situation now is that over the years, as far back as 15, 20, 30 years ago, more people didn't want him in for whatever reasons, obviously the gambling, and they just didn't believe that he should be in the Hall of Fame. That needle has gone the opposite direction now. It's more people feel like he should be in, and very few people feel like he shouldn't be in. But what's interesting about the people who still feel he shouldn't be in, 99 and 9/10% of them wish everybody played the game like he did. And that's the sad part I feel about what when people talk about it. They all wish everybody played like him, but there's still a number of people who don't want him in. But I think that needle has really gone the other way. And I don't know if he'll ever make it because of the rules changes and the way they vote players in now. It's by committee, and who knows what's going to happen. But the fact that they did it now, I think, is sort of anticlimactic in a sense because he was, he lived to be in his 80s, and why not have done it sooner and got it a clean slate? But that's their decision. But I have the memory of the years we spent together and the time we shared, and I just, if you look at his records in the National League, just unbelievable in terms of switch hitting. Of course, number of hits, games played, all the things. He all-star, 4 or 5 positions. I mean, he had a great career, and the fact that he went on to be the player that he became is really for me being sharing part of that was in his life to me is very, very special.
Well, I'm glad it's in the book, and it's all in there. All these stories that Art is talking about are in there, and so many more about broadcasting, his career coaching in Israel and things like that. So Art, it's out by Triumph. We support our local bookstores, the Book Tree in Montclair. And I appreciate having you on, and I'll hold it up for the audience to see it. And good luck with it. This is
great. Nice talking to you guys. Thank you so much. All the best.
All right, Art. Take care of yourself.
Take care, Art.
Thanks,
All right, that is Art Shamsky. Boy, it's a
All
good
right.
book. It's a good book, and obviously he was around a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's stories about everybody.
See, that's great. I love baseball books that have stories. One of my favorite is The Glory of Their Times. I absolutely love that book just because you kind of you hear about more about the person a little bit more than the game, because that's what you don't know about some of these guys. You don't know kind of where they came up, kind of how they are, what makes them tick type of thing. So yeah, I like books like that.
And this is just little stories like Johnny Bench. Johnny Bench dates his sister-in-law, takes her out on a date, cracks up the guy's car, never pays for it. And now he comes to bat. Bench is the catcher and says to Bench, "Hey, are you ever going to pay me back?" Those are the stories, and that's what's in there. So I like it. All right, cool. Here's the Forgotten Marlins. Sam Zeigner is patiently waiting.
Yes.
We'll take a break. We'll come back with Sam, and you'll learn about how I grew up and the team that I watched. This is what gave me my heart for baseball. So Sam Zeigner will join us right after this.
Sounds good. Couple of ads, and then we'll be right back.
Fans, joining us is Grant Power, President and CEO of Nations. Grant, last year we talked about the amazing breakfast at Nations. I'm going to ask you this. What's your favorite lunch?
I'm pretty split. I guess I'm kind of like a pitcher who has 2 favorite pitches they like leaning on. I'd say half the time I do the hamburger and half the time I do the wild salmon burger. It really depends on which protein you want. We love our beef supplier in Northern California. We've been with them for decades. We test our beef all the time. We sell ocean-caught wild salmon. Friends don't let friends eat farm salmon. It's absolutely delicious. To mix it up, I guess it's like a pitcher who has a 2-seamer and a 4-seamer, or maybe a 4-seamer and a cutter. I actually go grilled onions on my hamburger half the time and raw onions the other half. Today at lunch, I got the French fries, but half the time I get the onion rings, and I had a wonderful slice of pecan pie. There's something for everybody, whether you like hot dogs or grilled cheese. It's really up to the individual what mood they're in, but my go-to is either the beef with the hamburger or the wild salmon, which is absolutely delicious.
Wow, I love it. Grant Power, President, CEO of Nations. Grant, thanks so much.
Pleasure being on.
Fans, Bridge Bank delivers their clients full relationship banking, including treasury management solutions and global market services. Bridge Bank offers financing solutions to businesses for their working capital, equipment, and real estate needs. This is very important in today's world. Fred Voss is the Senior Managing Director of Bridge Bank's commercial lending efforts in Northern California. He has commercial banking teams in San Jose with Jesse Garcia, San Francisco, Oakland, Cheadle, Cordova, and in Pleasanton. Bridge Bank, it's like banking at home. I can't say enough about it.
All right.
Very good. Now, let me mention a couple of things about Bodega Bay. This is always a lot of fun for me to do this. So I heard from Gene Bagato, And with 95-degree heat in Sonoma, obviously things are happening up in Bodega Bay. So the staff is geared up and ready to welcome summer travelers looking to escape the heat. Down at the wharf, this is all up in Bodega Bay. At the wharf, a varied menu offering everything from juicy hamburgers to the highest quality seafood dishes awaits guests hungry for a great meal. If you're looking to enjoy the Sonoma coast, the gift shop and fish market has everything one needs for a visit to the beach. From towel, it sounds like me growing up in Miami Beach. Sam can appreciate
Nice.
that. From towels and swimwear to picnic items and beverages. So if you're looking to stay over, Bonnie and the kids did this. The fabulous Inn at the Tides with its spacious rooms and stunning views awaits with its heated swimming pool and hot tub spa, as well as the Bayview dining room featuring the great creations of the chef, Remy Madrid. So if you're interested in a fantastic getaway not far from the Bay Area, and it's really wonderful, you need to look no further than the Tides Wharf Restaurant and the Inn at the Tides in scenic Bodega Bay. It's beautiful up there.
It is. We used to go up there we used to go up there every summer.
Georgie Brothers. They've got a big sale on the stressless chairs. You get $500 off on the Paloma chairs, the wing style. I talked about it this morning on the show. I've done so much with Georgie Brothers. They're such loyal people to me, and they've been with me since I started the show. And I'm just looking to see if I had copied that this morning. But I couldn't say enough about Rob Georgie and the family, Georgie Brothers. And they've got the big sale going on the stressless chairs. And when I say I own them, I do. I've got about 4 of these stressless chairs. And I tell you this, it's great for your back.
There you go.
Your back. It's an honest recommendation. All right. Is Sam Zeigner still there, Eric?
Yeah, he's there ready to go.
All right. Sam Zeigner.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you for having me on Marty Lurie and Friends.
Thank you for your patience. You can see what do you think of the show so far?
I love it. I watch it every week, and I feel, of course, I know you, Marty, but Eric, I feel like I know him, even though he doesn't know me. But I watch the show all the time. So
I appreciate that, Sam. Thank you.
Well, the book is The Forgotten Marlins, and tell us about the book. This is my heart. Because as you know, and you asked me, a great honor for me to do the foreword for the book, and talked about moving from Brooklyn to Miami Beach. And I was out of baseball. I was no longer at Ebbets Field and Duke Snyder. And all of a sudden I realized there's a team here, the Miami Marlins, and you recreated that for me. And I'm so happy that you've done this, but tell us about the book and why you did it.
Sure. Well, the Miami Marlins, from 1956 to 60, of course, they were based out of Miami Stadium. They had relocated from Syracuse, New York. They're a member of the International League. And probably one of the greatest parts of the story, and a lot of people don't know about this in Satchel Paige's career, but he spent 3 years pitching for the Marlins from 56 to 58. They were a Philadelphia Phillies affiliate. And the first year was really exciting. Bill Veeck ran the club, promoted the club, signed Satchel Paige unbeknownst to all the players until he flew in on a helicopter on opening day, came in right into Miami Stadium, landed right behind the infield, blew a bunch of dust over everybody, and it was a whole big event, opening day, as you can imagine, with Bill Veeck running the show. That first season, they had Bill Veeck wasn't done promoting. He wanted to break the minor league attendance record, and he set up a game to be played in the Orange Bowl, and they basically shoehorned this baseball field into the Orange Bowl. It was like 215 down the lines, and it was about 250 to right center, left center. They built this big tall fence around the outfield to contain the balls, and basically the build-up to the game, there was a lot of celebrities. They had like Margaret Whiting, Merv Griffin, Cab Calloway performed, and Veeck set it up so the money all went from the proceeds to charities locally. And of course, as we all know, who pitched that game, Satchel Paige. And one of the funny stories about that game is Veeck wanted to fly him in on the helicopter again And Satch goes, "No, I'm not doing that again." Because if you remember when he flew into Miami Stadium, it was one of those bubble top helicopters, and only like 2 people could get into it. And he said he never held on to the pilot so much as he did that guy when they landed the helicopter at Miami Stadium. So
I love it. Well, what is it about baseball in Miami, though? And you've written about the origin of baseball in Miami. What is
mhm.
it? Why doesn't it get a foothold like we would think? I mean, I went religiously. I would sit and watch these doubleheaders. What is it about Miami baseball?
Well, as an example, I think when Bill Veeck ran the club, you could see they drew 200 and over 250,000 fans that year. And of course, Veeck was only there the first year. He went back to his ranch and eventually was owner of the White Sox. But as you know, Miami is a city of a lot of distractions. You have the beach, you have High Lie, there's sports, all kinds of things to do. And it's always a challenge for a baseball team to draw fans. It's interesting to note, even though the Marlins don't draw fans, I should say, to the ballpark, they actually have a very good attendance on their TV broadcasts. So when the original Marlins were there, of course, weather was always a problem. Being from Miami, you always get the afternoon rains. We started hurricane season yesterday, and so you always get those afternoon rains. But Miami Stadium was built with basically you could have a huge downpour, and it was built with this P-rock under the dirt in the infield and the grass, and it would absorb down the rain, and so they could play the games usually. So Joe Ryan, who ran the club, he would always turn on the lights about 3 or 4 in the afternoon to signal people, and you remember that there was going to be a game played that night. So they did their best, but it was always a struggle. And one of the issues was when the second owner came in, Sid Solomon Jr. owned the club originally, but George Storer came in, and he wasn't happy with the concession contract and the amount of money he was paying on the lease. And so he kind of made a strategic error and hinted, well, I want to move the team. I want them to play somewhere else. And there was nowhere else to play in Miami. There was Miami Field, but it was pretty antiquated, and it wasn't really set up for that level of minor league baseball, AAA ball. And I think that was a little bit of a negative with the fans, kept them away. But I'd have to really, it's just a lot of the choices around the Miami area of things to do, and people are very easily distracted, I guess.
Which I was. I went to High Lie. I went to Tropical Racetrack. I went to Gulfstream. I went to the dog track, the Flagler Dog, the Miami Beach Kennel Club. We went to the beach. We went to Funland Park. You name it, we went there. And that was part of growing up in Miami. But we also went to Miami Stadium to see these double headers on Sunday. But in the years you wrote about, did they ever make the playoffs? I remember they were always right near it.
2 times the original season, they made the playoffs. They finished third in the International League, 80 and 71. But they got knocked out in the first round by Rochester. This was a team that was always a nemesis. They were a thorn in Miami's side all the 5 years they were. I don't know what it was, but Rochester had something over Miami. And then the second year, they finished 75 and 78, barely squeezed into the playoffs, but they upset the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round. And guess who they met in the second for the championship of the IL? Rochester. And so Rochester knocked them out, and that would have been in 57. And then they kind of went on a decline, 58, 59, 60. Each year they had less and less wins, and that had a lot to do with the attendance too, unfortunately.
Yeah, we would go on the Sunday doubleheaders, and in those days as kids, it was fabulous because you could go in the field before the game. We would go so early that I played pepper with the Columbus Jets and the Rochester Red Wings and the Richmond Virginians. And, saw Bill Stafford and Fritz Burkell and Bob Keegan and all these names that I knew from Major League Baseball. And there they were in the International League. What's your favorite part of this era of Miami baseball, these Marlins? What's your favorite part?
Well, there's so many great eras. They had teams in the past. For instance, the Sun Sox were there before the Marlins. Was a Class B club with the Brooklyn Dodgers, but nothing beats the 56-60 Marlins. You had Satchel Paige. You had such characters. You had the Dalton Gang, which was Seth Moorhead, Jim Owens, and Turk Farrell. They were three rabble-rousers that carried right up until they made it to the big leagues. You had Mickey McDermott, who was a character. You know, he later won a lottery in Arizona for, I think it was $6 million or something.
Come on, he sat at the bar at the restaurant with Gary's restaurant. He would sit there at the grotto, the Italian grotto, and he would sit there every night at the end of the bar and he'd sit there and said, "Hey, my wife hit the lottery," and basically he didn't have to work. But Mickey McDermott, I got to meet him in Cooperstown. And he was signed by the Red Sox as a 16 or 17-year-old, a young kid. And he got like $10,000. And he said after that, his father took the money and the beer trucks just kept coming to his house.
Yeah.
And what a character. He was really an interesting man. I really enjoyed getting to meet him. And then I found pictures that I had taken with him at Miami Stadium. How about that? See, that's what it did for me. As a kid, I was 12, 13 years old. I loved baseball. I came from Brooklyn. And then to see names that I knew on the baseball cards, because in those years, the International League was really a step down from the major leagues.
Right.
But if you were big leagues, the International League was okay. You found players who were in Foster Castleman, was the shortstop for the Marlins who played for the New York Giants. Norm Zouchin was the first baseman from the Washington Senators. And I know these are names that people don't know, but in my childhood, these baseball cards came to life for me. Virgil Trucks, Harry Bird, Bunky Stewart, Pepper Martin was the manager. So there was a part of me where baseball became alive. And I got to see it through the Miami Marlins, who I did not know existed. And then when the book came out, The Forgotten Marlins, and I can go through each season with the names again, George Zuverink, and people like I saw George Zuverink. It was Eric. He was a relief pitcher in the major leagues, and sort of a lumbering kind of guy. And I was there the day that he pitched a shutout and hit a home run to win the game 1-0.
Very famous picture of that.
Then when I did this job. And he's in Arizona. I said, I'm going to go interview George Zuverink. And I didn't tell him, well, I was at Miami Stadium that day, but I kind of led him along in the interview. And I said, did you ever hit a big home run as a pitcher? And he says, oh, yes, in Miami Stadium off Lynn Lovinguth. I hit a home run to win the game, 1-0. And I wanted to say, George, I was there. But that's me. And that's why the book touched my heart so much. Because it was what really solidified my love of baseball. Who knows where I would have gone and how it would have turned out if I left Brooklyn and didn't have the Miami Marlins to be that gap. And then the Orioles came there to train in Miami, and I was an Oriole fan. And there I am at spring training at the Orioles in Miami Stadium. And so your book is very important to me. It meant a lot to me.
Thank you. Well, the thing that was great about those days in the International League, of course, like you said, you had either most of the guys were either coming down from the major leagues or you had all the prospects that were heading up. But you had the chance, you had personal relationships. I know that you knew Jim Archer very well, who was there in the 59 and 60 season, at the time was an Orioles prospect.
He's still with us, by the way. He lives here in Arizona.
Jim Archer?
Oh, I'm sorry. I think he said Jim Marshall.
Oh, no, Jim Archer. Yeah, the pitcher. He came up and he pitched with the A's for a couple of seasons. Yeah. But you got to actually know the players, and like you shared with me some photos. In fact, I have a photo in the book of you with Jim and the Marlins. You were talking right there with him in the Marlins dugout. So that was really a special thing for you because you got to know these people personally. You got to know about their lives, and they knew you. You know, I'm sure they said, "Oh, there's Marty in the stands." You know.
Well, we sat right next to the dugout every Sunday. My
Yeah.
friend we sat, and I sent you a picture of the ticket stub. I saved the ticket stub.
Yeah.
Box 42, tier 3, or whatever it was.
I
And
think it was tier 2, seat 4, box 40 or 41, something
yeah,
like
and
that.
we sat
Yeah.
right next to the dugout, and I would just lean in and just take pictures. You know, in those days, you took pictures and of the players, and just that's what I did, and it was a fabulous time for me. So I love the book. The book is good. How does one get the book, Sam?
Okay, you can get it at Amazon.com or at sunburypressstore.com. That's SUNBURY pressstore.com.
Yeah, and then of course we have the book tree up in Montclair. If you go up there, David can order it. But I think it's terrific. And not only that, I did the foreword, which I
and it was excellent. Could I share one story, Marty, about Mickey McDermott?
absolutely.
Do you have enough time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mickey is in the International League in those days. Havana was in the league, and the teams traveled from Havana clear up north to Toronto and Montreal. And when McDermott would go into Havana, he would stay out late, and he was an accomplished singer, and he would actually perform in the nightclubs in Havana. And the players didn't realize it till one night they were going down to the lobby, to see what was happening, and they look into the I guess they had a music hall or something, and Mickey's sitting there singing in front of the whole audience. That was Mickey McDermott.
Yeah, what a character. I met him in Cooperstown originally with Walt Dropo. He was
yeah.
there signing autographs. That was his buddy. And then he wrote a book, and I had him on the show when I did the A's pregame in those days, and then saw him down in Arizona. He gave me a beautiful signed picture of the magazine cover from the New York, was it, I forget, the Post, or I forget which magazine it was. But he's on the cover, the kid, the rookie coming into spring training. It's a very famous picture, and he signed it and gave it to me. And yeah, Mickey McDermott was cool. He was cool.
They said that he threw so hard that he could throw a ball through a brick wall. Of course, that's an exaggeration, but he threw hard.
He did. When Casey Stengel brought him in relief, Mickey told me that Casey would flap his ears like this because Mickey McDermott had big ears.
Yeah.
And that's how he would let them know to bring Mickey McDermott in or something like that. But the book has got all the names and all the stories and it's truly the forgotten Marlins. And it was a big part of Miami. When I did fantasy baseball in the Bill James League back in the 80s, early 90s, and I did it before I got involved with baseball, and then it was too complicated to do it. But the name of my team was the Miami Sun Sox.
Interesting.
That was my team. And I didn't realize that they had played at Flamingo Park, which was on Miami Beach, if anyone's familiar with that. And of course,
it's still there.
Yeah, Miami Stadium, the Jose Aleman debacle of how that stadium was built and all that kind of stuff. So you've done great research on it. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is
It
fun.
was really a labor of love. I know it sounds like a cliche, but it was.
I know that. And your wife, Barbara, helped, correct?
Yes, she always helps me with my books. In fact, my other two books, Baseball Under the Palms, the early years, 1892 to 1960, and Baseball Under the Palms, Volume 2, 1962 to 91, we co-wrote together.
Yeah.
Nice.
They're great things. And, people look at the Marlins today and, it's a beautiful stadium and it's half empty all the time and all this kind of stuff. But there's a long history of baseball in Miami. And I'm glad that you took the time to record it and to write about it, because it was part of my life. And I really had a lot of fun reading the book, a lot of fun.
Well, thank you. And I appreciated you do the forward. If anybody gets a chance, do not pass over the forward. It is, I love it. It really sets off the book, and it really sets the tone for what comes in the rest of the book. It was
Well, I
great.
appreciate it. Sam, thank you for coming on with us.
No,
Thanks,
thank
Sam.
you for having me. Thank
Good.
you, Eric.
All right, appreciate
care.
it. All right, that is Sam.
All right.
Drake. Yeah, that was good.
Great. I love it when you bring on these guys and talk about their books. Good stuff. It's the
Yeah.
history, right? It's this chronicling the history of baseball, and I love it.
Look, that's why we love baseball.
Mhm.
You know, it's a part of baseball that I love and I love doing, and I'm glad we could do it together. So Ryan,
Yes.
is Ryan still with us? Where's Ryan?
Yeah, I think he might be in the chat there. Yeah, I think I saw him in the chat.
All right, Ryan, great job, buddy.
Yes.
So Ryan does a great job, and we'll
Thank
do
you.
more. We'll do something this week. I
Yep.
know Glenn Kuiper wants to do something with me this week, and
Great.
Dan wants to trade somebody with me. I know. I tease Dan all the time. Tease him all the time. He's a great fan. He really
He is. No, you know what? You can't doubt that. You know, he just wants the team to do well, right? That's what it comes down. He's being a fan, and he's just throwing out his ideas. Nothing wrong with that at all.
I have so much fun with him.
Yes.
Because whenever he says something, I always tell him he's wrong. So we'll do something with you and Dan too.
Sounds great.
Yeah, and then I like the Sunday post-game stuff.
Yeah, the Sunday post-game stuff is nice. It kind of puts a nice bow on for the week.
Yeah, we're moving along. This is, each week now will be critical for this ball club. Each week, as you move through the season, teams fritter away, and things happen, and injuries happen. They haven't had really the injury bug yet.
And it's funny how you say that, Marty. Talking about injury, it looks like Corbin Burns looks like he might have an elbow problem.
Supposed to pitch today. He didn't pitch today.
He pitched today, but they had to pull him because he threw a pitch. You'll see a clip out there. He threw a pitch. He waved the bench over right at the club or towards the dugout, and then he turned around and he dropped an F-bomb, and then you could see him utter elbow. So it sounds like not good for the Diamondbacks in losing a pitcher. But like you said, Marty, right? Because teams today who could be in it and maybe buyers in 2 months could wind up being sellers. That's the game of baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, you could have Josh Naylor playing first base for the Giants in the second half of the season.
Hey,
who knows? But that's the beauty of it. Yeah, Dan said he said my elbow is
dead. Yeah.
Yeah. Dan, I'm glad that we appreciate you listening, and I'm looking.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that's the show for today. Please subscribe. It's good to subscribe. We're getting up there, right?
Yeah, we're getting there. Just surpassed 1,300 subscribers. You're moving right along.
Yeah, we want to get to 1,500, and do that. And the show takes a lot of time.
It does.
It does. But you guys do a good job, Eric.
As Sam talked about writing books, it's a labor of love.
Yeah. And Matos 3-run homer today. Ramos stole a bag.
Mm-hmm.
Fitzgerald had a steal today. Ramos had 2 steals today.
He did. They had that double steal. Yeah.
Yeah. And Flores knocked in a run today. So that was good.
And the pitching was.
And they hold on to win 4-2. They held on.
They did.
A little nervous. The bullpen was, the ball was all over the place. Miller still has some.
Miller, I get nervous every time he comes in.
And Walker still,
Yeah.
The one guy who seems to always get it together no matter what is Rogers.
Yep.
He's the one guy that when they bring him in, you think here comes the ground ball second.
Yeah. Him and Rodriguez are like, okay, we're good. I got no worries.
Yeah. I'm looking. Why are they not using Rodriguez? They're backing off Rodriguez here.
Yeah, that is a little bit weird because the game before
they used him on, I think it was Wednesday, and then they used him yesterday.
Yeah,
but they're clearly backing off him and not pushing him. I hope there's no twinge in there somewhere.
That's what I'm thinking, and it surprised me because in Detroit, when Melvin had him go 2 innings, I was a little shocked. Usually he doesn't go 2 innings for this year at least. Last year he was, but this year usually he's a 1 inning guy and he's takes care of business and he's gone.
Yeah. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But I appreciate it. And to say we'll do more this week. But if you like, subscribe, and I appreciate all the comments and everybody watching. So have a good day, and this is going to be a good week of baseball. Believe me, every day this is going to be a story. And we'll
It
see
will be.
tomorrow. I say it's Koss. Who do you say?
Well, I think you might be right. What would shock me? A shock move would be if they DFA Wade. If they do that, I would be shocked.
That's not well. I hate to say it, but I would say that's not going to happen. But you never know.
Right.
You never know. But Wade, they need him off the bench.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You're not turning first base over to JT Snow here.
No. And that's the thing. We don't know.
Yeah, you may need Wade the next day.
That is the truth.
Could get hit on the hand, and that's the end of him. And what are you going to do? So no, Wade, as Larry said, maybe you DL him, but release him. I don't think so.
I don't want to say they release him, but yeah, to the bench.
Buster's got he's got to deal with this over this next couple of months.
And this is what's going to be interesting. Something we haven't seen Posey do. How's he going to do with trades and how's he going to do with the draft?
Dallas says they should do it, but do I want a 171 guy coming off the bench? And look, as a pinch hitter, and even Larry said
he's 400, batting 400. Yeah, as
a pinch hitter, he does give you a little bit of a better at bat. So whatever that's worth. So Dallas, we appreciate it. All right, we'll say goodbye and catch up with you this week. You'll hear from us. Okay,
sounds great. All right, take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Now we get to hear Ruby again.
Here we go.
Thank you kindly. Enjoy the next week. We've got a whole bunch of baseball to speak on here at Marty and Friends. Marty and